Welcome to the How to Farm series. My name is Cole The Cornstar. I am a 26-year-old farmer who farms 2,000 acres of corn and soybeans. Over the next 365 days, I will be documenting everything that happens on Cornstar Farms in an effort to show what it takes to feed the world. If you wish to start the series from the beginning, watch my How to Farm playlist. In the last episode, after establishing a $523,000 projected end-of-year farm loss, we got started with preparing our fields for planting soybeans. My brother got started on tillage, Roman fixed our well, I GPS mapped fields, we got our sprayer trailer ready, we discovered our water tank was full of algae, and Dad loaded his seed tender trailer with seed. At the start of today, our yearly farm expenses so far are $916,980, and we have not made any income yet. If you are new to the channel, subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any of this series. Thank you for tuning in for the day. So let's get started. Welcome to day number 3 of the farm season. We have an incredibly busy day today because today is the day we are going to get the sprayers out running in the field and get started spraying. And once we get done spraying our first field, we will be pulling in with Dad's 16-row planter right behind the sprayer. And we are going to get started planting soybeans. Looking at the forecast for today, they're talking a high of 78 degrees. It's going to be an absolute beautiful day and a low of 37. We have some winds coming in at noon. Once the winds get over 12 miles per hour, it is going to be too windy for us to spray. They're talking gusts of up to 30 at noon. So we got some serious running around we need to do this morning to be able to make sure we have everything ready so that way we can get out in the field and get what we need to get sprayed before that wind comes. We have 100 acres that is completely ready. By the time I get that 100 acres done, there should be another 70 acres right here around the house. We should be able to get that sprayed too before the wind comes. So that is the goal. But we have a lot we need to get set up before we can do that. Looking at the 10-day forecast, tomorrow they're talking no wind, high of 79. Monday, they're talking a high of 79, no wind. Tuesday, 70% chance of rain, 69 degrees is a high. Wednesday, windy, 67. Thursday, 53 degrees, low of 40. We're good on temperatures. Going into Friday, we got wind, low of 34, high of 47. Saturday, low of 29. We have to keep an eye on that. Same with Sunday, low of 32. If we have crop up out of the ground when we have those low temperatures like that, we could get some frost damage, which would damage our soybeans that we're planting, which we don't want. But looking at these temperatures, I don't think we're gonna have anything out of the ground by then, so we should be okay. But we have to look out for that rain, we have to look out for that wind, because if it's too wet, we can't go out in the field. If it's too windy, we can't spray. So we're gonna try to make hay while the sun shines this morning, and we don't have any wind. So here we go, day number 3. Cooper's working, Zach's working, Dad's working, I'm working. There's 4 of us. We're actually gonna have a 5th person helping today too, not out in the fields, but with the sprayer. Jordan, our Haggy mechanic, is coming down and he is going to be working on this sprayer, which is sprayer we call sprayer number 1. I believe he's got 2 days worth of work he's got to do on that. See, and he's also got to do some work on this one, but I'm gonna be robbing this one this morning while I go off and spray. So we need to get some water in this. We have not put any water in it yet for the year. So we're gonna fill that up with a little bit. We're gonna go run it out in the field, make sure everything's working. We have our semi-trailer over to the side. We got water in it last night. We need to make sure all our pumps and stuff are gonna pump right on that as well. So we have a little bit of priming, cleaning, making sure things are flowing here before we actually get out in the field. So this is probably gonna take us about an hour. And then I'm hoping we can get some product in the sprayer and we can go out and spray. So here we go. And speaking of Jordan, it looks like he's just pulling in behind me. I'm currently on top of the Ranger, pulling off this GPS globe. This needs to go on top of the sprayer. The sprayer needs the GPS in order to reference where we are in the field. So that way it'll spray in our spray designated areas and it won't spray in our non-designated spray areas. Then I'm also gonna rob our monitor out of the inside of this because I need that to give all my rates and stuff to the sprayer pumps so that way it knows how fast it needs to pump product through, so that way we're getting the correct rate put on. So the sprayer is ran off a lot of technology. I've been GPS mapping fields with the Ranger, so that's why I have this monitor mounted up in here. It's pretty simple to uninstall it. We just have 2 cables on the back. It's kind of like installing a television really, or a computer. So now take the clamp off if I can, turn it the right way. And then we will be able to carry this over to the sprayer. We reinstall it the opposite of the way we uninstall it. I don't know if I need this mount or not. I'm guessing it probably will. Looking at the back of this monitor, this is the one that's supposed to go in the planter that Dad's going to run. These are set up on a Wi-Fi subscription service where everything goes up to the satellite. And then when you turn it on, it pulls it down. So I'm hoping all the data on this monitor that we have configured to set up to run the planter will get pulled down when we do that. We're not running that planter yet, so I have to get this done first, and I guess we'll find out here in a minute if my sprayer data is not on here. I'm going to have to go find the other monitor. I think this is ready to put some water in. Before we get started, we always check our fluids. Check the oil. We're going to put some engine oil in this. We'll get the oil in a minute, but I'm going to move this over in front of the sprayer trailer so that way I can get everything hooked up and get everything running over there while we're messing with getting this oil. Sometimes the sprayer is a little goofy and it doesn't want to start, which is one of the reasons why Jordan is here. But if we're going to be running this one, he's going to have to work on the other one for the time being. Oh good, it started, perfect. We have to run antifreeze into the pumps on the sprayers during the winter time because they sit in a cold shed, so that way we don't ruin the pumps. If they freeze, it'll expand and crack everything, and that gets super expensive. So I just want to run a few gallons of water up inside there so that way we can flush everything out, and then we're not spraying this antifreeze all over the field. We always want to start the semi before we do anything on here because there's a lot of electronics that are ran through this, and so the semi runs the electronics through the semi batteries. So it just keeps everything charged nice and you have a good current when you have the semi on. So the only thing I don't like about this hose reel when you're by yourself and you got to pull out quite a bit of hose, it's just a little bit of a wrestling this thing around, pull it out, extend it, go back, wrestle it again. Keep doing that till it's to the sprayer, then once it's there, then you're fine. You don't have to do this again until you move to the next field. It's nice for pulling it in though. Okay, looks like Dad just put some more oil in the sprayer for me. Brought a funnel out and half a gallon of 1540. I'm gonna get this blue pump fired up right now. That has antifreeze in it as well. We're gonna flush that through and we're just gonna make sure all of our line connections and stuff are not leaking. We always do this with water first because water dries and it's not messy. Like if you load everything up with product and then find out you have a problem, then it's not as fun working with it. Another little trick that I've learned, so we run a mix-mate on our sprayer trailer, and this is basically an automated mixing system where we get up there with the tablet, we turn on our pumps, we press the button, it does all the measuring, all the mixing, and we don't have to touch anything unless we have a little hand pour item that we need to pour in. But like in today, we're just putting in this one product, so I will literally get up there, turn on the pump, press play on the tablet, and it will suck everything out and measure it all for me, and I don't have to do it at all. This stuff smells like rotten eggs that's been sitting outside in a gallon of milk for like 2 weeks during the summertime. It's absolutely disgusting smelling. And I want to make sure that everything is working with the mix-mate the way that it's supposed to, make sure nothing got damaged over the winter time. I winterized it, but you never know. I'm going to fill this 5-gallon bucket with water, and then I'm going to dip one of my hoses into it that is going to be pulling product, and we're gonna suck water through to make sure everything's working okay on a waterfront first before we hook up to super stinky product. Had it happen before. You hook up to stinky product, then stuff doesn't work, and then when you're working on stuff, now you have stinky product all over everything that you're working on. Really annoying, really stinky. Rinse this bucket out. So this is plumbed up to the big tanks, so I have access to 5,000 gallons of water right now, so I can do this for a really long time if I need to. But I think sucking 5 gallons through should be enough. Okay, let's see if we can set this up there without spilling it all over me. So we're just gonna do one of these. Just dip that whole thing up inside of there like so. It's gonna suck it out in about no time, but it should be enough to do what we need it to do. Okay, there we go. Now we're sucking water through there. Okie dokie, we now have everything flushed out. We got about 120 gallons of water in the sprayer. I'm going to go to the side of the field somewhere. Rookie mistake, not gonna make that one again. See, we get this one out of the way when it's just water. You're not getting covered in stuff. sticky stuff. And then we are going to get this thing flushed out and get a load loaded up and go. This doesn't make any sense. I have no boom pressure at all. Nothing's beeping at me. No, nothing. Hey Jordan, I can't get any boom pressure at all. Do you have any ideas?
Well, no, I'm trying to think. Does it have a switch for work mode on the dash?
I don't believe so, unless it's hidden. Okay, well, I'm just sitting right here on top of the hill.
Alright.
Right behind the house.
Yeah, I'll come up and take a look.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't this one where this is backwards?
Yes, I guess that would help if I had it the right way, wouldn't it?
Shut everything off. Let's try to do a complete reboot.
Gotta give it 10 seconds.
It's all nice and it all works, but when it doesn't work, it's frustrating.
It's like when there's something big and you know, oh.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, I don't know. I think everything's set right in the ag leader, so I don't know what's going on.
I did put the new update on this monitor already, so maybe it was there.
Well, so then maybe that's possible, because if the monitor has a new update and then update the auxiliary and the speed inputs module, maybe they're just not talking right.
Come to find out, there was an update on the ag leader monitor that was not giving us the prompt when we fired everything up. We cycled power. They gave us the prompt, we updated it, and then everything worked. So we are now good to go. I just gotta hook this up, if I can remember how to do it. And then get the sprayer filled. Wind's starting to pick up a little bit. It's not gonna be long, I'm gonna be winded out. Just a little bit of a bummer, but that's how it goes sometimes. Get that opened. Okay, I think we are ready. Okay, we're gonna open this up. It's gonna take about 5 minutes to fill. Connection in process, so literally this is all I'm doing. Okay, now fire up the pump. I've already pumped 5 gallons of the stinky product on, 6 gallons, 7 gallons, 30 gallons of water as well. So this is literally all I have to do with my hands. Turn this one off this time. Ooh, look at that. Nice and dry. Let's get out in the field and get spraying. We have a nice simple drive over to Everest. Sounds like there's a metal plate above my head that's just jostling. Never had that happen before. Welcome to Everest. Let's unfold and get going here. We're running 15 gallons an acre on the ground right now too. So an acre is about the size of a football field. So imagine 15 gallons of milk being spread evenly over an entire football field. Well, we got the first part of the field all outlined up, so we are now ready to go back and forth on the long row stuff. It is noon. The wind is supposed to be starting to pick up now, but I think it's still acceptable for us to go. We're still right on that borderline level. If we get Everest done, then Dad will be able to plant the entire thing completely, and then I'm probably gonna have to run the rest off here around the house. And then Dad also needs my monitor to run in the planter, but he can't get the seed tender out right now because they're taking the fuel tank out of the other sprayer in front of the shop, and he had his seed tender inside the door, and the telehandler is currently in the way holding up that fuel tank. So they're gonna have to get that done first before they can get the seed out. So I guess we might as well keep spraying as long as we can. Okay. Make sure our mix mate's still on, which it is. We got our load full now. We got another 65 acres on us. I have 65 acres done. We need about 32 more over on Everest. Then we'll jump around the house here and just a nice long row stuff. I can kind of go to the bottom of the valley. I'm hoping I can duck out of the wind a little bit there to get us ran off empty. Then we'll pop the monitor out. We'll get that in Dad's tractor and hopefully get the soybean planter rolling here in just a minute. Cooper is running around the house right now with the real disc, and he's doing some tillage. And Zach is down at Mary Lou's running our high-speed disc. So we got all hands on deck today. Everest is now all completely done. It ended up taking 97.8 acres, and we are now going to hop right across the road over to around Dad's house, and we'll finish out. I think we have, what we got for water left here? 609 gallons, so we got 60% of our tank left. We'll be able to get a good chunk over there. I'm running a rate of 15 gallons per acre, so I will be able to get 40 acres done across the road. It's 68 acres over there, so we will have a majority of it completed. Long story short, the wind ended up picking up. I was able to dive down into the valley in the field around Dad's house. I was able to get out of the wind enough to get my load off. about halfway through getting my last 40 acres off. My filters underneath plugged up. Yesterday we took water out of our tank for the first time, our 5,000 gallon tank, and it had algae in it. That algae made its way under the trailer, and then from the trailer onto the sprayer, and long story short, my filter was completely packed full of algae. So I got that cleaned up. That is now fixed. I was able to get everything done. Well, I ran this load empty. I'm not done here in this field, but we have Everest done, and then we have the field around Dad's a little over halfway done. So now we are going to pull the monitor out of the sprayer. We're gonna pull, yeah, Dad's got a GPS up there, never mind. We'll just pull the monitor out, put that in the John Deere. We'll get Dad loaded up with seed, and then we will get him planting. This is what we got done around the house. Basically, this is the valley part, the big long rows that are right down there at the bottom of the hill, kind of out of the wind. And then we just got right there along the road done, but I did nothing up in the terraces or anything. This is up on a big hillside, so a lot of wind up there. Fairly quiet down here. Okay, we need to pull this monitor out and bring it to Dad. Pull the sprayer up by the other sprayer. I guess Jordan's gonna try to rob some parts from this one and put it on the other one to see if he can get some things working. They're both identical sprayers, same year, same model, same everything. One just has more hours than the other one. This one has more hours than the other one. And so we're gonna leave that up here, and Dad's filling up his planter right now with seed. Let's go plant. Oh, it's not as hot in here as I thought it was going to be. Here, I take that back. It's hot in here. Whew. So this is where the Ag Leader In Command 1200 monitor is gonna sit. We're gonna fire this up. We'll get all the seed numbers and stuff put in for Dad. And then this is the Steady Steer. It's also another Ag Leader product. It connects to a gear that's mounted on the steering wheel. And so the GPS receiver is gonna talk to the satellite up top, and that's gonna transmit information to this, which is gonna turn the wheels. So we have auto steer in this tractor, even though it's a 1980, because of this little tool. So this is pretty neat. This is going to be a Champion 324E, so this is a 3.2. Just put your period right there, and that tells you what maturity it is. Champion 324E.
Are you ready to try it?
I think so, if you wanna drive over to Everest.
Yeah, and if you want to bring the Ranger over, so grab me another water if you would, please.
Okay.
The fridge.
I can do that.
Now I don't know where we kind of want to start, so if it flubs up, it ain't right by the road.
Well, I want to go to the back corner.
Okay.
If you go back to the big waterway,
Yeah.
and then on this side of it,
On the east side of it?
on the east side of the big waterway, so like you're going up the big hill, well, we can start there.
Okay, so I'll be going this way.
Yeah, this way.
Okay.
We've learned when you start planting, you go to the back of the field where nobody can see anything, because if you're gonna have a problem, it's almost always right when you're starting. So we are over the hill where literally nobody can see what we are doing. How's it looking?
Well, it's the same laws out here. If you're out in the desert or the forest, you gotta dig 6 inches deep if you're gonna go to the bathroom. I'm only digging about 2 inches and finding beans.
Okay.
It's moist.
Sliding up behind the planter right now, making sure that all of our closing wheels are centered up. We don't have a lot of adjustment we can do on this planter because of the age of it and kind of the condition. I've been helping Dad here just a little bit. He's been struggling with his planter GPS. My dad is very much so, once he adopts something, it is in his head for good. And so sometimes learning some of this GPS stuff, when you only use it for a few days out of the year, and most of the time Cooper and I will either have it set up and ready to go, where you just have to get in and press the steering wheel button so it'll drive, you kind of forget how to do things. And then the more complexity we add, like trying to have saved lines on the edges of our field from year to year so we can always be driving the same paths, that just adds to another layer of complexity. So I think I made my dad a little bit angry when I told him that he was planting the field differently than how Cooper likes to plant this field, because Cooper plants this field pretty good. And so that got him a little riled up. And then he was on the incorrect GPS line. He was using one of the edge boundary lines over in the center. So like right now he's boundaring the edge of the field, so he's on his own edge line. But when he's in the center of the field, we want to make sure we're either 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. or 360 degrees to the world, so that way our lines are nice and square. And the edge lines, it follows the edge of the field, and so it kind of makes your lines across the field look like this, which is not what we want. And so I asked him to change it, and it was just a little bit of sensory overload, I think. And so I saw him in there pushing a bunch of buttons pretty aggressively on the monitor, and he had the tractor off. He was a little frustrated, so I just got Dad situated out. He got into a menu he didn't know how to get out of, and then got him straightened out, and then I had him get everything set up so he knew how to do it. I just stand there if he has questions, and I think now we got everything going, and stuff's looking pretty good. I got row number 7 here on the planter. I'm gonna take a look at just to make sure that that one is centered the way it's supposed to be. We had a little bit of issues with that one when we were initially getting things set up, but I apologize, I can't take you out there. It's like 25-mile-an-hour winds, and it will literally blow the camera over, and that's annoying, and it breaks stuff when the cameras fall over. So I guess we have to sit up in here. So he's downshifting. We are on top of Mount Everest right now. This is the highest point of the farm. You got a really nice view from up here. Oh, he's pulling up into the corner. Okay. Oh, looks like he's gonna turn straight back around. Cooper and I are pretty type A when it comes to a lot of things. We like things to be really neat and concise. My dad likes things to be neat too, once they're neat, but when it comes to planting a field, he grew up literally his whole life until like 5 years ago doing it by hand. And so, you know, if things were not 100% perfectly straight in a field, it wasn't the end of the world, which really shouldn't be the end of the world to us either. But it bothers Cooper and I. We like things to be nice, crisp, straight edge. Like, we took the time to map everything out with the Ranger, so that way we would have those crisp edges. So we would like to utilize that. So that's why we really even say anything about it. And then also next year when we come back to plant corn, we can then use the same lines but offset them 15 inches, so then we're planting right in the middle of the row, and we're not planting on the root balls of the prior year crop. So that's why it's kind of it's not the end of the world deal, but it's important to us for those reasons. Row 7 is the one right in front of us. Just making sure that the closing wheels are closing the way they're supposed to. I think Dad's pretty much good to go up here. We are going to go bring a bottle of water out to Cooper. He asked for one a while ago, and then I'm going to work on the sprayer stuff so that way we can have things planned and ready to go for in the morning when it is not windy. I came out to the Hanson farm to bring Cooper a water bottle and a shovel handle so he could stick the shovel handle down into his diesel tank. The fuel gauge in that tractor doesn't work, so that's how you have to gauge the depth of how full it is. And I got to the Hanson farm, I don't see Cooper. I guess there's a pretty bad hydraulic oil leak on the Massey Ferguson 4880. So Cooper's gonna bring the reel disc home. He's going to unhook that. He's gonna pull the Massey up to the shop, power wash the bottom side, clean that all up, see if he can get that pulled apart. Oh yeah, look at all that brown. Gross. Oh, that's so disgusting. We got a ton of brown in this. I think we might be cleaning it up pretty good. Okay, tank is empty. Perfect. So with the big water tank filling, both of these are empty on this trailer. Each one of these is 2,600 gallons. We had that algae water inside of here. The front tank seemed like it was pretty clean. The back one was pretty dirty. Let's see what we got for floaties. Actually, it doesn't really look too bad. It's a bit rusty, very rusty. Looking inside these tanks, the front one looks pretty good. It's just mainly rusty. The back one, it basically looks like a farm pond that's completely mossed over. Take a look at this. Yeah, that's disgusting. So I need to grab the power washer, probably the 15-degree tip. Might try the 0-degree tip. Might try the turbo nozzle. We'll see. We'll stick it in there. We'll get everything cleaned out. I got the valves open on the back side, so all that algae will just run out on the ground. Power washing the inside of these tanks is not very fun because everything comes right back up at you, and it's also the inside of a big plastic tank. When you're squirting hot water inside of it, all the steam and everything else. right back on you. It's not perfect, but that's a lot better than what it was. Some of that stuff's kind of hard on there, but I think that's rust, not necessarily the big chunks of algae, so good enough. Here we go. Another thing about spraying, makes my eyes red every time. I think it's just because, like, I don't know if it's because you're more strained looking at it all the time, or if it's the air conditioner hitting me right in the eyeball. Somehow it gets behind my sunglasses, but look at that eyeball. Does it like every time I spray. I don't know why. Kind of annoying. We're gonna stop with the annoying stuff today because I feel like I'm being a negative Nancy. I'm not. I'm ecstatic. This is the earliest we've ever planted soybeans before. So if we have good weather, we should be looking at a phenomenal soybean yield. Or we have the potential for it because we're getting it nice and early in really good conditions. And it's a beautiful day to be alive. And it's the day that God gave us. So we're not gonna be negative anymore today. Not that I'm being negative, but I'm just talking about stuff that's not like, oh, super cheery. But none of that anymore. We're gonna go to the sauna now, yeah! So my trailer is completely cleaned out. I went and looked inside the sprayer. That looks nice and clean in there. I did end up draining out the bottom like 3 gallons that were in it. And then I took the filter apart again. There's a little bit of gunk still in there, so I'm gonna clean this apart, and this should be the last of having to deal with this algae. I hope. Look at this gunk that came out of the tanks. That algae is disgusting. It almost looks like the skin on a hot dog. It's gross. I got the filter put back on the sprayer. Jordan said this sprayer is ready to rock and roll. That sprayer's got a little bit of work that needs to be done on it, so we'll leave that one sit for now, and I guess we'll start using this one tomorrow. Dad's still been planting this whole time. He did fill up one time with the seed tender. I think he can do like 32 acres on a fill. So he's done at least 32 acres, and he should get another 32 done tonight, and hopefully more. It'd be kind of nice if we could get that field done, but we'll see. We're gonna bring this semi over to the main farm now. We're gonna bring by the water tanks. That way in the morning when the water tanks are full, we already have this here. Everything will already be hooked up. We set the fire up the pump, fill this in 15 minutes, and then we will be able to get spraying right away. So I guess Cooper put the stars inside of his truck. This is kind of cool. I got it and turned it on, and I'm like, what just lit up in here? Look at that. Got some purple beans. These are some Champion 324s. So these are 3.2. Filling up the last load over here on Everest. Dad's got about 70 acres done over here so far. This farm's like 93 acres of actual planted acres. So Dad should be done in about an hour and 40 minutes or so. So here's what we got going on the Massey 4880. Between the engine and the transmission, you have the flywheel and a bell housing. It connects the engine to the transmission. There's a little shaft that runs right between the engine and the transmission. It's what transfers the power from the engine into the transmission and actually makes the wheels spin. So that shaft between there, well, there is a seal that keeps the oil inside of, I don't really know how it all works in there, to be completely honest. So Cooper pulled everything apart in there, took the shaft out, and he took the flywheel off, which is a big circular piece of metal that on this particular tractor weighs like 100 pounds. And he's got that seal exposed. So Scott, our neighbor who's a mechanic, he's gonna get in contact with Cooper tomorrow, or he's gonna come down here. I'm not really sure. Either way, we're gonna use Scott as a reference. He's gonna tell us if we need to take the rest of the bell housing off in order to get to that seal or not. But that seal needs to be replaced because that is what is leaking all of the oil. You can see that flywheel up in here, that big gear thing right there. That's that piece that weighs like 100 pounds. And then right on the right side of it is where that seal is inside of there. We're coming up on hour 15 for the day. It is 10:40 p.m. Saturday, April 13th. Zach got started before me. Cooper got started before me. Dad got started before me, so they've all had longer days than I have. And So between the four of us, we'll just call it a 16-hour average between. So that is 64 man hours for the day, $1,280 worth of expenses. We had zero income today, and all the diesel fuel and stuff that we spent, we'll rally that up at the end of the month when we get our fuel bill and actually fill our tanks back up, because it's impossible for me to calculate that right now. But we spent $1,280 today.